Today, in this auspicious day of the Losar 2021, we will go through the prayer to Samantabhadra or Kuntu Zongpo. And from what I could see while I was going through it and while I was working a little bit on it in the afternoon, we might not do the whole prayer today, but part of it and the rest in the next teaching. So we will maybe do a little series of teaching. So first of all, when we are talking about Kuntu Zongpo, whom is called the Primordial Buddha, we could think that we refer to one being, but we need to understand that we are actually referring to the nature of our own mind. We are talking about our own Buddha nature. So Kuntu Zongpo, Samantabhadra, sometimes named the one gone to bliss, is in the sense of our inner or our deepest nature, the nature of our own mind in the sense of being inherently blissful. Yes, so it's not a being to whom we are praying, really, but it's a prayer that we are making to our own Buddha nature. And it's a prayer which contains a lot of informations and a lot of teachings, a lot of details about the path to enlightenment. All right? So when the prayer referred to the appearance, all the appearance in the samsara and nirvana, we might ask ourselves what appearance is referring to, and it is referring to the whole universe, all what can appear within the universe. It refers in some text as limitless universes, not just one, but many universes. And all of them, all the universes, and all the appearance is actually coming from the beings who are experiencing them. So the three realms that composes our universe and all the universes, desire, form, and formless, is actually generated or coming out of the minds of all the beings who are experiencing it. Yes. So if you are wondering from where all these appearances are coming from, then from your own mind, basically. So when we talk about samsara and nirvana, we are talking about a manifestation of our mind. Yes. It says, the prayer says that it has a single ground, two paths, and two results or two fruitions. So when we talk about the single ground, we are referring to our own, to the mind, to the very nature of our mind. And this can be approached from three aspects: the outer, the inner, and the secret ground. The outer ground, when we refer to the outer ground, it refers to the five elements which are composing every form or every material Anywhere there is an appearance of a form and a body, either the body of a human being or animals, they are made of the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and space. Yes. The inner grounds that we can talk about in relation also with the 5 elements are the 5 afflictions. The attachment, aversion, ignorance, and pride or jealousy. And when we talk about the secret aspect of the ground, of this single ground, it is actually the very nature of the mind, that essential, subtle consciousness, which nature is shared by all beings. Yes, the consciousness of all beings is of the same nature. So this is what it refers by single ground. So on the basis of a single ground, on the basis of our own consciousness, we can see that there are 2 paths which can be developed. And of course, according to the path chosen, there are different results, different fruition or fruits of what we are doing. And when we are talking about the 2 paths, we are referring either to the path going in the direction of the benefits for the others. It's the path where we choose to be compassionate, where we choose altruism, where we choose to help the others. Yeah, so this is without any doubt the Dharma path, and even further the Mahayana path. And of course, the result of acting and working somehow for the benefit of the others is happiness. Yes, all the texts are saying that when we are acting for the benefit of the others with the motivation of benefiting the others, this is the way to reach happiness. Not just a pleasure, yes, temporary pleasure or of our senses, but real happiness. So this is really the path which transforms suffering into happiness, the suffering in which we are currently within the samsara, and the transformation of that path of suffering into the path of happiness. Yes. So when we refer to the 2 paths, we refer on one hand the path which leads to happiness, because we are concerned about the others, because we are aiming at helping the others. Or the second path, which is the path of self-cherishing, clinging to our own pleasures and well-being, material well-being, emotional well-being, and so on. So self-centered and cherishing, and this is leading to suffering. Yes, undoubtedly to suffering. So if the first path was the transformation of suffering into happiness, the path of self-cherishing is the transformation about whatever happiness we could have into suffering. So if we experience happiness, it means we have accumulated positive cause. But if on the basis of the happiness we can experience, we are acting selfishly and for our own benefit, we are creating causes for suffering, not for happiness. So a single ground, 2 paths, 2 fruition, this is it. Single ground is the mind, the true nature of the mind, The two paths is either the path to help the others or the path of self-cherishing. And consequently, the two results are either happiness or further suffering than what we have experienced, or that what we are experiencing into samsara, since the texts are talking about beginningless time. In any case, probably time to go out of it. And this is what we are seeing, that what we are trying to learn is how to come out of the different aspects of suffering. If we continue, then the prayer talks about a magical display of awareness and unawareness. So how can we say that? Actually, this awareness or unawareness is based on our ability to really understand what we defined earlier as the single ground. Either we are able to recognize the true nature of our mind or not, is what defines here awareness on or non-awareness. We need to understand the concept of this single ground and to understand the law of causality, because everything is actually coming out of the law of causality, and we need absolutely to transcend this law of karma in order to fully realize the quality of our mind, the inner most secret and stable qualities of our mind. So when it refers to Kuntup Zangpo, we said earlier that it refers to our own mind. It refers to the quality of our mind, and becoming aware of that true nature is actually the cause of enlightenment, the cause for liberation, and ultimately the cause for happiness. So magical display of awareness and unawareness refers to that, to either we become aware of the true nature of our mind or not. And accordingly, we walk the path towards enlightenment, the path to liberation or not. The prayer later is talking about the palace of Dharmadhatu. Again, we can see the Dharmadhatu from a different perspective, the outer, inner, and secret aspects of what we define as the Dharmadhatu. The outer aspect of it is actually all the Pure Lands, all the Buddha's lands, which we can access and perceive with our Sambhogakaya. The inner aspect of Dharmadhatu is actually the path which leads to the Pure Land, or which leads to the lands of the Buddha, or pure lands of the Buddha. And when we talk about the path which leads to the Pure Lands, we are particularly referring here to the 6 paramitas. Yes, the Bodhisattva training, the Bodhisattva practice of the 6 paramita. And aside of the 6 paramitas which allow us actually to accumulate merits by acting for the benefit of all sentient beings. We need also to remain with the correct motivation, and the correct motivation of bodhicitta. Yes, we need to remember that without bodhicitta, we cannot reach complete enlightenment, because the complete enlightenment is based on the two great accumulations, accumulation of wisdom and accumulation of merits. And the accumulation of merits helps us or support us to also develop the accumulation of wisdom. And we cannot accumulate as much merits as it is needed to reach full enlightenment if we are not motivated by bodhicitta. If all our actions of body, speech, and mind are not sustained by bodhicitta. Yes. Once we have realized bodhicitta, everything we do is for the benefit of all sentient beings, and thus is a source of merits. So we can say that the complete enlightenment is absolutely based on the correct motivation. So here in the prayer, when we talk about the place of the Dharma Dhatu, it is this, this Pure Lands, the path to the Pure Lands, and the compassion as one part of the path, and the secret aspects of it, which is the Buddha nature. Yes, which is, we could say, the union of emptiness and bodhicitta. Yes, once we have achieved this union of emptiness and bodhicitta, we perceive the ultimate aspect of the reality, the ultimate truth, we can say. Yes, so this is the highest aspect of the Dharma Dhatu. Further in the prayer, it refers to the ground of all, which is unconditioned. Some of the texts would say uncompound. So the ground of all, again, refers to our mind, to the most subtle aspect of our minds. And of course, that aspect of our mind is uncompound. It is not, we cannot divide it, let alone to find it in one place or in another. When we are talking about dualistic appearance, so the dualistic appearance within the samsara, all these appearances are conditions. They are conditions because they are arising from causes. Yes, so arising from causes, multiple causes, multiple results, and they are impermanent. Whereas our minds is not conditioned. It arises without any beginning and does not fear any end. It will not be destroyed at any moment. So if all the dualistic appearances and phenomena are compound and impermanent, the mind is not. The ground of all is not. Yes, so this is what it refers as. The ground of all is unconditioned and uncompound. Later it says the self arising inexpressible great spaciousness, vast spaciousness, yes. how to say, when we refer to the space, we refer to actually something which is not created, which has no cause in itself. This is why in many texts we are comparing the nature of the mind with space. We say that the mind is like space. It's we cannot pinpoint at something. It is everywhere. It pervades everything. Space is pervading everything. If there would not be space, somehow we can say there would not be any movement. So it is a space which gives a movement. And of course, the nature of our mind is beyond any words, beyond any expression. That's why we say unexpressible. When we are talking about the true nature of the mind, it's actually very difficult to explain it by words. It's very difficult to conceptualize it. Of course, in the text, there are many explanations about what it can be, could be, and what it is not. It's very difficult to express the true nature of the mind other than by the true nature of the mind, or the most subtle aspect of our mind, and so on. But this is it. When we talk about the ground, it is self-arising because it has no beginning and no end. It does not depend on any cause. It is inexpressible because we cannot put any words on it. And it is a great or vast spaciousness because we refer to the space as something which is ever existing and all pervading. Without the name of samsara or nirvana. Of course, we cannot we cannot really give a name, as I mentioned before. We cannot put a word on what the mind is, and in the same way, we can say that samsara and nirvana are also arising from the mind. Yes, if there is no mind to perceive samsara and nirvana, they would not exist from their own side. There is no inherent existence of samsara and nirvana. Yes, so we cannot really say that samsara and nirvana would have an existence beside all the beings who are perceiving it. Yes, so it does not have any name of samsara and nirvana. Awareness of just this is Buddhahood. Unaware is, or unawareness is wandering in samsara. But actually, this is the very difference between a Buddha and other sentient beings, is to realize, to recognize the true nature of the mind. So realizing the nature of the mind without any dualistic perception is enlightenment, is what makes this difference. This awareness of the true nature of our minds is enlightenment, we can say. Within the mind itself, within the true mind, the true nature of the mind, there is no duality. Whatever form you perceive is immediately recognized as illusory, an illusory display. Having recognized the true nature of the mind, the spaciousness of the mind, whenever a realized being perceives a form, it is compared to a wave within the ocean. So it is just a manifestation of our own mind, arising from that mind, belonging to that mind as well. When we realize the ultimate bodhicitta, we also realize that our true nature, the ultimate aspect of our mind, is actually has never been created, so never born, and will never die. And this is also why it says a little bit further that there is no more fear, because there is no fear that the mind would disappear. It does not die. It will never disappear. It will never cease to exist. So one of our deepest fear is connected with the concept of I, the concept of self, and the fear that this self would disappear or would be hurt in any way. But once you realize the true nature of the mind, this absolutely disappears. And at the contrary, not realizing this, being unaware of the true nature of our mind, is wandering in samsara, because we constantly accumulate causes for further rebirth. May all beings of the three realms be aware of the reality of the inexpressible ground. So again, whenever it is referred to the ground is the mind. Yes, we should keep this actually in mind. And it is absolutely inexpressible because we cannot say that the mind is existing or non-existing. And there are many arguments that it is not existing because it is not coming from causes and so on. And that also it is not non-existing because still it is the basis for accumulation of causes and so on. But by the fact that it is not possible to say that it is neither existing or non-existing, it is unexpressible. Yes, we cannot speak about the ground, about the mind with words, and that confirm us in a way, or strengthen the whole idea that everything that seems to appear is actually completely illusory, and not just an illusion, but something that has absolutely no inherent existence. And if we do not see this, if we are unaware of that particular fact, then we continue to see faults outside, mistakes outside, either in phenomena, in situations, or in beings. Yes, there are many people, even Buddhist people, who still continue to see faults into the Dalai Lama, for example. They will think that what they perceive is actually coming from outside. Then I, Samantabhadra, am aware of this very reality of the ground without cause and condition, which is self-arising within the ground and affected by the flow of outer and inner affirmation or denial. So back to the ground again, basis of mind, which is not created by any cause, which is just like space, and this is what we are referring here as a self-arising awareness. It's not a state which comes from causes. It's not arising. It is not to be altered or destroyed. Yet it is a state which is able to know its own nature. So when we talk about this awareness, it's a particular quality of our mind able to perceive its own nature. Yes. So this is an important concept. We will talk a little bit later again about it. Yes. We cannot find this ground in particular locations, yet it is a ground that knows. That's why we meet in this prayer quite often the concept of self-arising awareness. Yet, and unfortunately, we can say this awareness or this capacity to perceive or to know is turned or is used for our self and evolves, develops around the concept of I. The concept of all I possess, of all I want to get. So we have this capacity, we have this quality of cognizing, but it is not well focused. It is wrongly focused. I would say we are looking constantly outside, yes, outwardly. And this is what we could name as ignorance. Yes, when in the text it refers to unawareness, it doesn't mean that this quality of knowing disappeared. It means that it is blurred or it is not correctly used. Would we look inside? Would we practice and focus the mind correctly? Of course, we could turn that quality into wisdom. Yes. So that quality of our minds is leading us to, not leading us, but is misused in a way. So it is not used properly. And it helps to have more focus on the outside phenomena than the inside, than the true nature of the mind. Yes. This all actually, this all concept or this all parts explaining the mind and the true nature of the mind and so on is present in all the traditions of Buddhism in a way or in another. And within the Tibetan tradition particularly, we can find it explained in a different ways. And either a more logical way or a more reasoning way within what we call the middle way, actually, Madhyamika. But we find also similar explanation, maybe explained a little bit differently in the Dzogchen tradition or in the Mahamudra tradition. But the texts are very clear, saying that these are different names for the same concept. Yes. So actually, these are different names for something which has no name. It is one and only understanding and one and only wisdom. Understanding this, we can focus on the fact that everything which is perceived, even though it appears to exist outside, actually does exist inside. It is an inner perception. But this is our duality, and this is the trouble we have to face, is that everything we do perceive as outside is an illusion, is the result of some causes our own mind has created in the past, which give as a result a perception and a phenomena. And a phenomena is something which is perceived by our six senses. Not understanding the true nature of our mind makes us to believe that what we perceive is outside. But it is not. Yes, it is all happening within our own mind. A little bit like in a dream. Yes, we can compare this with the dream situation. So understanding that we should not fall also into nihilism. We cannot say that nothing exists at all. If we would say that there is absolutely nothing, we take the danger to think that even the mind does not exist at all and causality does not exist at all, and then we fall into nihilism with all the danger of it. So we need to stay away from the concept of eternalism. Things do exist outside of us from their own side, and the concept of nihilism, nothing exists at all. Within the middle way, we explain clearly that phenomena do exist as an illusion within the mind, as the result of causes accumulated in the past. So there is no phenomena possessing any self-inherent existence. But it doesn't mean they do not exist at all. Yes. So we need to be clear with these two perspectives, not to fall into nihilism or any form of eternalism. Then the prayer says, untainted by the stain of the darkness of mindlessness, thus these self-appearances are not blemished by any flaws. We can say out of this sentence that Buddha nature is something always present. It is our deepest and most true nature. Yes, it is always present. Yet it is not always perceived. So there can be some darkness, we can say, or some situation which makes that we don't see things clearly, because at some time our mind can be very clear. It can be rather clear, not dull, quite mindful of what is perceived, but without the right focus. So sometimes the example of anger is given. So when we are angry, we can say that the mind is rather clear. Yes, there is a certain focus, a certain sharpness, but the focus is not correct, and thus we are afflicted. Yes, we are tainted by ignorance. So we do not really have a clear mind regarding the true nature of that mind. We have a certain clarity, but afflicted, in an afflicted way. Whereas the true nature of our minds, or we could say the nature of Kung-Tung Zangpo, is free from any kind of darkness, free from any kind of afflictions. Yes? So it is untainted by the stain of the darkness, of mindlessness. It is when we do not have the correct awareness. It is when we are not focused correctly on the true nature of our mind, that afflictions arises, and on the basis of that affliction, we are accumulating negative causes. Within self-awareness, resting in its seat, there is no fear, even if the threefold existence is destroyed, nor is there attachment to the five sense pleasures. If we talk about this self-awareness, this quality of the mind, this self-awareness is never afflicted, is never disturbed by anything, because it, again, as I said earlier, it does not arise from something, and it cannot die. Even if all what we perceive of our universe would go towards destruction, our consciousness would not be destroyed. Thus, having the right mindfulness, we don't have any fear connected with the risk of being destroyed or the risk of disappearing somehow. Yes, we should remember that at the time of death, this is our main trouble. At the time of death, we are facing the true nature of our mind. And while we reside in that spaciousness appearance, if fears arises, then we come out of it and we enter into the bardo, and we are connected with the next rebirth. At the contrary, if while facing the clear nature of our mind, we embrace it without fear, we are enlightened. Yes, we are free from samsara. We are free from ignorance. We are free from illusion. Yes. So this is an aspect extremely important to cultivate and to understand properly. Where I am now in the prayer. In non-conceptual self-arising consciousness, neither form nor the five poison exists. Non-conceptual refer to the fact that whatever would arise in our consciousness, there is no grasping of it. There is no generation of concept or question about existence or non-existence and so on. So whatever would appear, there is no grasping at what appears. We are talking, of course, about a consciousness which is free of thoughts, free of concept. What can we say more on that line? In a non-conceptual self-arising consciousness, neither form nor the five poison exist. We can say that whatever we perceive, whatever form we would believe in, is actually arising or has arisen from the wrong focus our mind tend to have, which is self-grasping or grasping on the concept of a self, grasping on the concept of an I. So based on such affliction, we engage actually into actions. At first, an action of the mind, because we do not recognize the clear nature of all phenomena. So we actually believe in outside phenomena. So there is a movement of the mind, which is already an action in itself. When we say action, it is not just the body which moves towards something or which does something. The mind, believing in an outer phenomena, engages de facto into an action. And that action is, or these kind of actions actually are the fuel for the law of causality. Yes? The law of karma is working in this way, that on the basis of ignorance, unawareness, not recognizing the true nature of phenomena, we perceive phenomena as outside, self-inherently existing, and our mind thus moves towards this phenomenon. There is an action. That action creates a seed, creates an imprint. And out of this imprint, all the imprints that we have accumulated in the past and that we are constantly creating, actually we are creating the sixth realm of rebirth of the samsara. On the basis of all these imprints and on the basis of this ignorance, all the poisons are appearing. All what poisons our mind is appearing. And of course, we call them poisons because they are the source of all possible sufferings that we are experiencing. Okay. I think I will stop here for today. It's already a lot of things. Of course, we have seen most of these things already, but it is very pleasant in a way to see them all listed in one prayer. And when we are reading this prayer, sometimes we just read it like a text, like a sutra or like any other prayer. Whereas, as you can see, every paragraph of this prayer has actually a very deep meaning. And the all of it refers to the nature of the mind. Till the end, we will talk about how the mind works, how it is deluded, how it becomes aware or unaware of its own nature. Yes, this is the beauty of the text, of this text, in a way, is really to focus on this awareness we need to have about the true nature of our mind. If we can develop that awareness that the true nature of our mind is void of any inherent existence, is we can develop this this self-awareness, this knowing about the true nature of our mind. Of course, these are words, and they remain words, and there is no other way to try to describe something which is undescribable. So beyond the words, we need to, on a daily basis, on every moment basis, try to understand the true nature of all what we are surrounded with, because we have the feeling to be surrounded by phenomena having their own inherent existence, whereas they don't have. Whatever you perceive and whatever you think is existing from its own side, outside of your mind, does not have any self-inherent existence. It is an illusion taking place within your own mind. It arises from the cause that very mind of yours has created in the past. This is, without any doubt, one of the most complex aspects to understand, because since time we cannot recall, we are functioning on the basis of a belief in outside. Yes, on the beliefs of this outside, our mind moves, take action, and create causes. And every single time our mind perceives a phenomena and believes in its inherent existence, we are accumulating causes, which means nearly all the time. No wonder why our universe can appear quite complex, because we are accumulating a lot of cause constantly. And we will continue to do so as long as we do not realize the true nature of the mind and everything which appears within the mind. As long as we believe in any external phenomena, external forms, we are caught in ignorance. Yes, different forms and different aspects of ignorance. Voilà. I think I will stop about this prayer and this explanation for now. And we agreed to have another teaching to continue this prayer in 2 weeks instead of 1 month usually, but so that you don't forget too quick what we have been talking about in the previous part of the prayer. So we will continue in 2 weeks. In the meantime, do read and read again this prayer. And once you read it after each paragraph eventually, or after every reading, meditate on it so that you can really reflect inside about the true nature of phenomena. When I say inside, it's not by opposition to outside, is by reference of generating the right focus, not a focus on outside perceived phenomena, but the true nature of the mind. All right, maybe enough material already for the next 2 weeks or 2 lifetimes. So we can conclude with the usual prayer.